Hello everybody, my name is Johan
I'm Mike.
and we've just returned from the Serengeti where we hosted our Best of Serengeti. Second time in 2 years that Mike and I have hosted this trip, or 3 years actually, that we've hosted this trip together.
Exactly.
And
We don't speak about the first one.
We don't speak about the first one, we forget about the first one. And we thought we were going to take a bit of a different take on this trip report and kind of talk you guys through some of the sightings and experiences and just the different destinations that we visited during this trip.
Yeah, it's always a trip I look forward to a lot every single year because it's just so action-packed.
Yeah.
They're long, full days out in the field, but it is well worth it. We obviously cover a lot of ground in both our times in all three destinations that we get to visit, being the Ngorongoro crater, Ndutu, and then the Eastern Serengeti. And full days out there. Once, or if you have experienced it or thinking of experiencing it, you'll soon understand why full days, or for the most part, full days are what we do out there, a full day safari.
And I think, we spoke about it during this trip as well. We'll get to the destinations now, but we also said to people on the trip, and I think most of the people agreed with us, that it's probably not a safari that you're going to go on as your first ever safari, because it is pretty full on. But it is worth it, and let's get straight into it and talk about the different destinations.
Cool. So obviously arriving in Kilimanjaro, and that's the starting point, where we spend a night in Arusha, but then the real fun stuff happens the next day when we transfer through to the crater, and it's all very traffic dependent as to how long that trip is, but it's usually about 3.5-4 hours, and you are then, I would say, blessed with the incredible view of the crater from the rim up at the top there.
Yeah,
it is.
I think
never gets old.
No matter how many times we've gone to see it, stopping there. And this year was actually quite a bit drier than normal, although the lake for me felt like it had more water in it, which is quite weird.
Yes.
But yeah, that view is absolutely incredible and a nice introduction to the crater.
Of course, and into the whole conservation area as a whole, because from the moment you up on that wall, and everything from that point onwards for the next 2 weeks is safari area. You are in wilderness, and it is just absolutely beautiful. So 2 nights in the crater.
Yeah.
And
I think 2 nights is enough. People often think 2 nights you're kind of living out of a bag, which for the first part of the trip you kind of are doing a little bit. But I think we'd agree. We did one afternoon in the crater, and then the next day a full day out, taking breakfast and lunch with us to enjoy there. But because it's such a small area, kind of by sort of a day and a half, you've kind of seen what is there to be seen.
Exactly, yeah, and it feels like the real good stuff and the real action starts happening in Ndutu and the Serengeti. But seeing the crater is just amazing. It's a bucket list thing, and if you ever do find yourself going to Tanzania, it is a must. It is a beautiful area, but like Johan had said, a day there, a full day, so your first afternoon, but then a full day in the crater, you get to see the crater. And there's not much else to see. If pushing it, I'd say maybe 2 full days, but a full day there, in my opinion, is more than enough. And during our time there, I think the videos that we're going to share with all of you coming up here of the highlights that we got to experience within the crater just comes to prove that a day and a half there is all you really need to tick off what you want out of the crater.
Yeah, and it's a great variety of stuff. We had some good lion sightings, great general game stuff, loads of zebra, loads of baby wildebeest this year.
Tons of eland.
Some good elephant. But I think the highlight was probably that black rhino sighting that we had.
That was an incredible moment.
Yeah.
And we saw, yes, I think in total, was it 6 black rhino in the crater?
Yeah.
6 or 7, somewhere around there. So we saw a lot, but photographically speaking, and just on a general beautiful sighting point of view, those last 2 we spent our time with was just absolutely incredible.
No,
that backdrop and the herd of wildebeest behind them.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful moment.
And the cool thing is that we kind of went in there saying we hoped that we could tick off a great black rhino sighting, knowing where we're going, we are going to get good predators. But I don't think we could have asked for a better black rhino sighting than that.
No, I told the guest who we were hosting on safaris that this was probably, for the crater definitely, but thinking of my career, probably one of the most beautiful black rhino sightings I have ever been a part of.
Yeah.
It was just perfection.
Yeah.
Everything became so quiet and blurred in that moment with this animal walking across the plains. It was just a really great moment. But over and above that, speaking of lion sightings, we had incredible lion sightings in the crater as well.
Yeah.
Some 3 big, massive male lion.
Yeah.
A lot of females around. They were on a carcass. We saw cubs getting chased by buffalo. They were hiding in the grass. A lot of it quite far off, so didn't really get too much out of it, photographically speaking. But that first, I think it was our first afternoon, we descended down into the crater.
Yeah.
We were driving towards this massive storm.
Yeah.
Came across a lioness who looked interested in hunting. I think there was zebra to our right.
That's right, yeah.
That was also a really pretty moment.
Very special. No, it was. I was seeing lions in the rain. I think there was some good photographic opportunities for the guests, and I think all right. Like Mike mentioned, sometimes because you can't go off road in the crater, sometimes from a photographic point of view, it can be quite far away. But it definitely doesn't take away from the experience and the beauty thereof.
No, and that's also why we always recommend guests who join us in these areas to at least have 400 millimeters or longer,
upwards, yeah.
To ensure that if we are in the crater or in a destination where we can't get closer to the animals, at least your lens can help you get a little bit closer.
Yeah.
And I think before we move on, one massive highlight for me when it comes to the crater is waking up that morning,
the last
morning, and seeing, because we're on the western bank of the crater, the lodge that we stay at, and so, or the western rim, and with that sunrise coming in from the east, and you wake up in the morning, open the curtains, and just stand there and have your first coffee, overlooking this crater and this gold, kind of magenta glow everywhere.
No,
beautiful place.
It is beautiful, and like you mentioned, our last morning there, we enjoy a sunrise over the crater, because then we head off to Ndutu. So talk to us about Ndutu.
That place. That place. Going into this year's trip, I was very excited to get back to the Kopjes, which is our last destination. But I think this trip and this time around has proven to me why it was Johan's area that he couldn't wait to get back to. So we spent the majority of our time there, 5 nights. And it's also about a 3-hour drive from the crater in towards Ndutu. And Ndutu is adjacent to the Serengeti National Park. So it doesn't form part of it, but it's part of the greater Ngorongoro conservation area. So animals can roam freely. And the thing about Ndutu is obviously the lakes are great, but surrounding the lakes are some of the most picturesque trees and forests you will ever imagine.
It drives you mad though, because you always often think, like, imagine a leopard in there or a lion in there.
And that's the thing. Every destination we go to where we see great trees, you're like, oh, a leopard there or a lion there. Cool thing about Ndutu is that there's a very good chance that there is going to be a lion there or a leopard there, and yes, that we see cats in trees this time around.
Oh, it's incredible, and it's like you mentioned. I think it's one of my favorite places in Africa, and it's. I think the first thing that struck me this year though is how dry it was. I don't think I've ever seen it that dry ever in my life, and that's why it's also a great thing about, we had Beata this year that she joined us last year and then joined us again this year. Each year is so different. I mean, 2020 we had all the rain. This year was the complete opposite. It was so dry. We only had rain, I think, on the last afternoon there. We had that big storm. But it's hard to choose a favorite moment from Ndutu because there were so many.
Yes, there were lots.
Loads of flamingos. I mean, by the thousands of flamingos this year.
And that was so beautiful.
It was beautiful. That sunrise.
Photographically challenging, but yes, what a special moment. And leading us there, remember the 3 lionesses? We were coming up over that ridge.
Oh yes, yeah.
And these lionesses came out the forest, and they just led us down towards the lake. So that was truly special. All the flamingo, but I mean, if I recall that the first lion we found in the tree, first lioness. On that day, we had, I can't remember exactly how it panned out, but we had 4 leopard on that day. Due to that is unheard of.
Crazy, yeah.
I mean, 1 leopard, and if you're lucky, a relaxed leopard in that area.
Yeah.
You are very lucky. But we had 4 of them.
Yeah.
Mated couple, and then 2 others in the tree, which was just off the charts. but I think I think I can label 2 wow moments coming out of Ndutu. I mean, there were a lot, but I think, well, 3 actually, coming to think of it. Yes, they're all coming back to me now. 3, but that first crazy moment we had with those lioness approaching these 4 massive male lions, sleeping, resting, and none of us expected what was going to happen next. Pandemonium.
Yeah, the males started fighting and things. So I mean, that's the beauty of it, because you've got so many different aspects to Ndutu. Now you've got that marsh where our camp was situated, where it's a great area for lions, hunting. And then you go towards the plains, which is not that far away. It's probably a 30-minute drive from where our camp was, and I still think it's one of the best places to see cheetah in the wild. I can't recall how many cheetahs we saw there. It probably must have been 12, 15
individuals, and we saw them multiple times.
And hunting on several occasions, which I mean it's actually one of the few places where you can go to try and photograph or video cheetahs hunting in the wild.
Exactly, and it's nothing's predictable at nature, but with these cats and these cheetah, you can you see, here's the cheetah, here's the gazelle, then stop behind the cheetah. Go around, stop behind the gazelle, because the chase will come towards you. And
you do need patience.
A lot of patience. Card games, good idea. A good book to read, good idea. But it's just great being out there and just listening and watching and observing, and you learn so much more about the animals' behavior and how they live their day in the middle of the Serengeti every day, just by sitting with them and watching them. The cheetah hunting was magnificent. Those 3 brothers we had, walking through those fields of yellow flowers. Man.
And also, I think the thing that makes it fascinating is you just never know what's going to happen with these animals. We had a mom with 3 sub-adult cubs, and I remember, we were hoping for the cheetah's sake that there'll be gazelles there, and we saw this the herd of wildebeest, and obviously for us, not really knowing the individuals, we were relying on our guides who said that these guys will take down young wildebeest, and this herd of wildebeest came straight towards them, and when we were positioned so the cheetahs could see them, they could hunt, so we parked off quite a way, and I mean these herds just ran right past the cheetah, and for no obvious reason. We think maybe it is because the mom had a bit of a limp that they didn't go for it, and then other times you think, there's no way they're going to go for it, and they'll just take off and from nowhere and catch you totally unaware. I mean, one scene I was thinking I'm going to video, and then by the time I switched my camera off, and then I couldn't get it back on again, I couldn't video, so I just
missed everything.
I missed everything. It happened so fast.
Very quickly. Our cheetah sightings were off the charts. I think in total we were sitting around 18 individuals throughout the trip, which is a lot of cheetah.
That's a lot.
And then I think to loop back to the lion activity we had in Ndutu, I think one of my favorite moments out of this entire trip, so not only in Ndutu, the entire trip, was that lioness in that beautiful kind of Y-shaped tree, which was literally a 5-minute drive from our camp, at sunset, so beautiful glow in the sky, this cat in this crazy cool looking tree, her sisters all around that tree, and eventually they kind of woke each other up and things started happening there. And I honestly don't think, and whoever wants to join us next year to accept this challenge, we'll happily tackle this challenge with you, but I don't think we're going to find a better lion in tree kind of scene than we did that day. It was so beautiful. I mean, we were with a different lion, a different lioness in a tree, and then this just came totally unexpected. I think the coolest thing about it was just our 2 vehicles. Our 2 vehicles parked off there. We had it to ourselves. I mean, I can remember everyone was super excited and over the moon about this scene. And like you said, it's going to be hard to top that. But I think what makes it so rewarding is, again, it's one of the places that you can go to look for lions in trees. It's not just a fluke thing. It's actually one of the reasons we go to Ndutu, is to try and get those lionesses or male lions up in trees. And I mean, we had numerous sightings of that this year. Yes, it's and so different. Each scene was just so unique and so different.
Yeah.
I mean, like that one we had the day we had the 4 leopard. We had a lioness in the tree, and what 40 meters behind us, a male leopard sitting in this V of the tree, just looking at us. I don't think he saw the lion, otherwise he probably would have bolted ages ago.
Yeah.
And we had 2 large cats in trees in the exact same time.
And about 200 meters behind him was another leopard.
Exactly, yeah. Because you guys left, went to check a tire, pick a flower.
Yeah.
Some kind guide came up to our vehicle and said, "We see you guys are photographers, there's another leopard down here, follow us," and off we go, and another leopard in the tree. So
anything can happen in that place.
Yeah, it never gets boring. Any direction you look in, something beautiful is going to be there to see, hopefully photograph, and something is going to blow your socks off every single day in that place. And the camp as well. The camp is just, I love the camp. It's rustic. It is, you in, and like Johan said, you're on this ridge, very close to these marshes and these drainage systems. So you're in a very alive area. I mean, the one morning we were walking to the main area, and our hyena were busy ripping something apart. You could hear something got killed right outside our camp that morning. Thank goodness it wasn't one of us. We got there in time. But I mean, that's the beauty about this place. You leave camp and action's happening as soon as, not even the wheels roll, as soon as you wake up, you open your eyes in that camp.
Sounds and everything.
Something's happening there, which it's more of a, it's a great experience, but there's more of a feeling associated to Ndutu. It's a lovely place. And then from there, so that's 5 nights. We spent 6 full days, or 6 days, 5 full days in Ndutu, which, trust me, you're going to need a lot of memory cards. You're going to rack up a lot of photographs. But action-packed, mainly full days in Ndutu. And then, as Johan had mentioned, similar in the crater, we take packed breakfasts with coffee and packed lunches, so that if we are needing to be patient with cheetah or waiting for a lion to come out of a tree or whatever the case may be, we have everything with us in the vehicle. There's a fridge with drinks, cold drinks, and coffee, tea, breakfast, lunch. We've got it all with us, so we can maximize our time out in the field. And pretty much the same thing happens at our next destination, being Ngorongoro camp. Yeah,
and there's also plugs in the vehicles as well, so you can charge your batteries, if you need to. And then, like you said, and from there was a bit of a drive to get to Ngorongoro camp, which is in the eastern Serengeti. And with this as well, we decided to take breakfast and lunch with us, because the reason for that is we have to go out of the Ngorongoro conservation area by a certain time, get into the Serengeti at a certain time, because when the day we leave, we also need to be out more or less that time that we arrived in. So from there, literally maybe 20 minutes after you enter the Serengeti, we started heading towards the kopjes, and there's an area known as kopjes, which that whole area used to be like a cheetah research area. So it was never open to the public, but thankfully now you can, by paying a small amount per day, you can enter those kopjes. And I mean, we had, I think for the 4 days we were there, I think if we saw 3 or 4 other vehicles in that area, it's a lot.
It's white and black if you're comparing central Serengeti to kopjes. It is sometimes you need to work a little bit harder to find something in kopje regions, but when you do find something, it is absolutely phenomenal. Because, like Johan had said, you have that area to yourself, really. And I say you have to work a bit harder, but looking at our day of arrival, leaving Ndutu, driving through kopjes, making our way further east towards camp, we had that lioness on that rock where our guides thought there was probably a cub in there somewhere. From there we found 3 hyena on a rock. From there we found a cheetah on a rock, which I've never seen a cheetah on a rock there, so that was pretty insane. But saw a cheetah on a rock. From there we found that lioness and a massive male lion on a rock. There's probably a lot I'm forgetting here that we also saw.
Look at all the
and
photos.
This is literally just the drive from entering the gate and making our way towards camp through kopjes. That place is crazy productive.
I think also to explain to people what these kopjes are, it's big granite outcrops, and a lot of that was caused from the volcanic activity from the crater even. So it's actually scary to think, if you look at the distance, how big that sort of
between 100 and 150 kilometers.
Yeah. So I mean, you're talking about, and these massive granite rocks. It looks like someone has literally gone and placed them on top of one another. Kind of like a Lion King scene, where they pick the cover up over these rocks. That's kind of like the scene that you're looking at over there.
Yeah.
So very picturesque, and a lot of these cats will often climb these rocks then sort of like late morning or early afternoon to get away from flies, but also to use as vantage points. So that was our goal from a photographic point of view, to get these cats on the rocks.
Yeah, there was obviously a lot more involved, or there is a lot more involved in the Eastern Serengeti Safari.
Yeah.
Whereas you can also, if luck is on your side and you want to see the migratory herds, at times of the year, depending on the rainfall, they can be in that area. This time around, there weren't massive numbers because the rain was falling more central Serengeti and not far east and south where we were at that time. But we still got really cool and productive sightings on ground level of lions mating. Again, I think one of the coolest...
Yeah, I forgot about that.
One of the coolest lion mating scenes I've ever seen. And that also came out of the blue. It happened behind us the first time. We didn't even know. We just hear you guys saying, there's lions mating.
Yeah.
We missed the first one, but then they did it again. And I mean, just that whole scene, the moody sky, the dust, the savageness of those cats.
And it was crazy. I mean, she came running from miles and went to the smallest male, because I think there were 4 or 5 males.
Well, we could see, but there were in total 7 male lions.
7 males, yeah.
So 3 massive boys in the long grass and 4 smaller guys lying
there.
There, yeah.
But he was probably the smallest and the ugliest of the lot, and he must have done something right.
Yes, yeah. She ran a long way, so she was tired. So whoever goes first. I don't know. I don't understand what that dynamic was. That was very strange, but it provided a flipping cool
that was amazing
scene. And one that I think I'll remember for a long time, just due to that the dust, the violence that was part of it, the moody sky. It was just really a cool moment. So yeah, things like that. And they were around that watering hole because we spent 4 nights at Ngorongoro camp, which again also a stunning camp.
Yeah.
Really pretty camp. And we spent 4 nights there, and throughout the 4 nights they were there the whole time. And I mean, every morning we left camp and made our way in search of cats on kopjes, may it be leopard, because we were lucky to find leopard on kopjes as well, which was really
that pretty. Was a beautiful scene, that on that fig.
Yeah,
that was
that
really
root
pretty.
System coming up from the bottom.
And again, very, very unexpected. We went to that area to try and see if we can find leopard, because usually that central area has got a pretty decent leopard population, but the quality of your sightings, that's often out of your control. You can potentially find the animal, but the quality of the sighting and what they're doing, that's totally out of your hands. And it felt like for this trip, everything just fell in place. We had the sightings, but it was in other beautiful locations, or they were doing something incredible.
Exactly. And we were blessed with that. And not far from that sighting, we had another male, that massive tank of a leopard, that we were hoping would come down, and then it started raining so much.
Oh, yes.
Flashbacks to 2020.
Forgot about that.
That was a lot of rain. But everything, the elephant, like we spent time with elephants around the Masai Kopi regions, and again, dramatic skies, so beautiful. And I feel like there's a lot that we're forgetting as to what we got to experience in this region, but I think 2 moments, one in particular that really stands out for me, is close to our camp, about a 30-minute drive if you race there non-stop. It is an area called Research Kopjes. Really beautiful rocky outcrop. It's a massive fig tree growing on, the eastern side of, the western side.
Yeah, western side.
Of the rocks. And we always hope, because it's close to camp, we're always hoping that we find cats here or on those rocks, because then we can maximize the time. Yeah. And the same thing happened there on our last afternoon. We had 3 cats on that rock.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Also with that moody sky interacting, really, really pretty, stunning. I think if you could pick like a rock and a particular sky, that would be it.
That's amazing, and it lends all the kopjes really, but especially this one, it lends the opportunity to get such a diverse portfolio of photographs. Same thing goes for Ndutu with the cats in the trees. Johan learned a tough lesson. He didn't pack a wide angle lens for the trip.
Yeah.
Whew, that must have hurt.
Still hurts. Still a bit
For
too
many
soon.
moments we had on this trip. But the diversity you can get from one scene is just mind blowing. Shooting at 24 millimeters, going into 70 millimeters, 200, 400, 600.
Yeah.
And from one scene, you get a portfolio of 10 to 15 incredible looking photographs, which look totally unique and totally different.
Yeah.
So we had a great moment with those cats that afternoon. They were there again the next morning.
Yes.
And this was our day of departure. We were leaving.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, let's just go past these rocks again. Maybe we get lucky. And we got lucky. And then they started playing down at the bottom and had a great time and gave us a really, really cool show. And speaking of, I nearly forgot, like probably one of the coolest moments we had in the Serengeti was that last full day we had, that morning.
Yeah.
You can go for it.
Yeah.
I might just get emotional.
I mean,
Yes, that was crazy.
we spotted just a lioness walking by herself in the plains, which, that by itself is quite a strange sort of occurrence. And got her walking towards this rock, and we went around the side of it to hope she would go right to the top of the rock. And then when she disappeared into the sort of thicker vegetation, you guys looped around the other way.
Yeah.
It was like immediately there was some sort of like, whispers going around there. Why is she doing this? Does she potentially have cubs? And we said again, we were only two vehicles. There was no one else that even knew about this den site. I mean, the perfect den site that you could think of. And all of a sudden appeared these little
Fluff balls.
I mean, probably 2 weeks.
I would say max 2 weeks.
2 weeks max.
Yes. They had just opened their eyes, I think. Those things.
Looking to explore, walk to the edge of the kopje, and then mom obviously picking it up. And she did that several, I think 2 or 3, it could have been 4 times.
I think there were 2 really cool photographic moments, especially that first one where she picked this cub up and literally, as if she was displaying it.
Yeah.
Like her front legs opened up as she picked it up, and she just turned.
Yeah.
Up against the face of the kopje, turned this cub, showing us, taking it back into the den side, and all of us were just like,
No, it was.
We were going mad.
Yeah.
And we stayed there, and she then picked it up a few times, and then there was the second time, that you could see the cub beautifully, but regardless as to how many times she did it, it was
magic.
one of the cool. I think I've never properly seen a lion den site.
Yeah.
Like there, you could see it's on the rock. You can see the
little
dark
cave
in there. You can see the little cubs coming out. You can see mom. Oh, it was just insanely cool.
But it's also, it's one of the benefits of spending a whole day out there. Is like, yes, you go through quiet periods, but if we did it like a normal 4-hour morning safari and gone back, we would have missed half the stuff that we saw out there. So it's, it's a lot of hard work that you put in, but you will get rewarded in those areas.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. And I mean, I wouldn't do it any other way.
No.
Especially in Ndutu, you can still maybe get away with it, but the Serengeti, there's no chance. There's
so much to see and explore.
Exactly. And then getting back to camp that evening and sitting around the fire and just kind of backtracking through the day. It's so often the case. Like we're trying to explain a 2-week trip to all of you and as to how productive it is, because it is. We saw. I'll pull the numbers up now when you get to chatting quickly, but we saw a lot of animals. So trying to relive this just off the cuff is difficult, because you'd sit after a full day in Ndutu or in the Serengeti, and you then suddenly pick up, just remember that caracal we saw.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Was that today? It's like, yeah, that was today. And it just feels, your days feel like weeks out there.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much happening.
But I think
look for those numbers.
It's one of the places you get properly spoiled, and I think one of the hardest parts, both from a guiding point of view, but also from a guest point of view, is you're often spoiled for choices. You might be sitting with a cheetah on the plains, potentially hunting. but then there might be another call of a leopard or lion in a tree. And then you often have to make those tough calls to see what's going to work and what's not going to work. And I think the other tough part of it is, not to force the issue. We went one day where, the morning was busy, but sort of after lunchtime, the rocks that we explored, it went quiet. And we said, you know what, we've had a great day. Let's head back to camp a little bit earlier. It doesn't happen often. We got back to camp at like, I think 5:30. But it was so beautiful to be at camp. Everyone can have a shower. It was extremely dusty this year. You can have a nice drink around the fire, or have 2 or 3 drinks around the fire, which often, when you get back 6:30, you have a shower at 7:30, you go back into dinner, you go to bed. It can be a bit rushed. So that one day of just getting to camp a little bit earlier, enjoying the camp as well, is very special. And I think it's understanding that time when to make use of what's around you, and also times to say, you know what, nature's telling us to call it quits for today.
Exactly. And I mean, we en route, we left a cat on a rock, but it wasn't photographic. And wasn't it that day there were 2 massive males on the ground, 1 big male on the top and 3 females up with him?
On the rock, yeah.
So if they kind of became alive, they're probably still lying there like flat. But if they woke up, it would have been a crazy cool scene. But we decided, we're a long way from camp. We need to start. Yeah. And en route back, we got an update that those 3 lions very close to our access road killed an eland.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, this is going to be our afternoon. Sun's going to set, beautiful, fresh kill. There might be aggression. And we got there, and the grass was long, and there's not going to be any photograph here. And like you said, then you just take it on the chin and just realize, well, this is a sign.
Yeah.
Our fingers are tired of doing this. We've got a lot of cool photos. Let's make our way in. And I mean, throughout, even if you sacrifice a early afternoon or 2 during this trip, I found these numbers here. Lions, we saw 120 individual lion.
That's crazy.
In 13 days, 12 nights.
Yeah, 13 days.
I mean, and one of those nights is in Arusha, so you can really call it 11 nights.
Yeah.
It is, that's a lot of cats. I think it averaged, it was like, now with that day off, probably close to 17 lion a day that we got to see during this trip. Last year was 128 individual cats, which we were trying to beat that record this year. But I think we saw, in terms of total lions, we saw 186, so almost 200 lion sightings that we had.
That's crazy.
In 13 days or 12 days of safari. 25 cheetah in total, of which probably 17 or 18 individual cheetah. Yeah. And then 8 leopard. 8 individual leopard. For the Serengeti, it's maybe 2-3 decent leopard sightings in a sense. Having 8 leopard sightings, 8 of which we photographed and spent good time with.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Man, I love that trip. Can it be this time next year already?
No, it's a very exciting trip, and the trip for next year is out on the website. It's ready. It's the same itinerary as this year.
Filling up slowly, yeah.
Yeah, filling up slowly, and then for 2025 we're going to take a bit of a twist on it. So we're gonna
same time of year.
Yeah, same time of the year, but then we're gonna fly in from Kilimanjaro into Ndutu. Still do 5 nights in Ndutu, but then also do 5 nights in the east.
In the Serengeti.
Yeah.
And then because we're missing out on the Ngorongoro crater or part of the trip, if you do decide to join us in 2025, you can still visit the crater and we can help you plan this, and it could be a bolt-on option either before or after the scheduled tour, and it could be a private-based tour where myself, Johan, whichever guide's facilitating the trip, can join you on and assist you photographically, or it can just be a general travel or a custom tour where as you stay with your guide on the ground in Tanzania and he takes you into the crater for a day, you explore it by yourself with no wild eye guide present, and you then make your way home from there. So if you want to chat about those details, please feel free to get in touch with us. We'll happily assist you and answer any questions you may have about our Best of Serengeti Safari. Yeah. Good stuff.
It's a great trip.
It's an amazing trip. And I think all of our trips are very difficult to explain and put in words just as to how phenomenal they are. But I think if we look at two of the guests that joined us on this trip this year, being Linda and being Beata, they have both been in the Serengeti before. And decided to join us again. And the crazy thing is, Linda had quite a hectic experience with the two of us in 2020 when they experienced rainfall that they hadn't experienced in the past, 15 or 20 years. It was insane. So it wasn't the best kind of experience safari-wise because it was so wet and challenging to get around. Animals weren't moving too much because there were rivers everywhere. But she saw the potential and decided to come back. So there's a feeling about this place, and it's a must visit.
It's really very special. And I don't think there's any place in Africa or in the world that can compare from a sheer numbers point of view.
No. And numbers in predators, general game, unusual sightings, caracal serval, all bat-eared fox. It's the bat-eared fox sightings we had, honey badgers. There's so much happening in that place. And like you said, nothing compares to it in terms of numbers, in all aspects of wildlife, but also, I think, portfolio diversity in terms of an Africa portfolio and package in terms of look at what Africa is. That place is just crazy. So,
it's very special.
Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure hosting with you.
Really. Thanks, bud.
Thank you. And
do it again.
thank you all for watching.
Cheers.
Have a good one.